The case study, of course, is in Gicumbi district, northern province, of course, in Rwanda. You can project my PowerPoint. All of us, you know that life on this earth cannot be possible without water. It helps support all human beings, plants, animals, and everything that survive in this world. It can help in manufacturing goods, in processing foods, even in sustaining health. Unfortunately, more than half of people do not have water so that they can, of course, satisfy their basic needs. Examples are there, but you too, you can, of course, remember that water is somehow scarce. The other shortage is noticeable, mainly in rural areas, whereby, of course, we cannot find enough water, whereby they have to fetch water very far away, and sometimes don't find it. In African countries, of course, we mainly use the natural water, whereby which we find in lakes, rivers, and so on. And we forget to know that we have a water which is sometimes misused. That's why in Rwanda, after considering water as the most, of course, vital and of course important resource that we have to sustain, that's why they start a way of storing water using water tanks, so that we can have water even if we are during dry season. This has done in the Gicumbi district, northern province, in rural areas, whereby water tanks have been constructed. And I said, is it possible to see if that water that has been stored, is it contributing to the welfare of people or well-being of people in Rwanda? That's why I formulated the following objectives so that I can measure, so that I can discover what I wanted to know. The general objective was to examine the effect of harvesting rainwater on well-being of people in rural areas. The specific objectives were to find out the problem faced by people in rural areas before harvesting rainwater, the activities in which harvested rainwater is used in, of course, in rural areas, and also at the end to discover the effect of harvested rainwater on well-being of people in the rural area. The methodology that I used, of course, the research was mainly descriptive, whereby it is more quantitative than qualitative. It is quantitative, of course, because questionnaire has been used, and also qualitative because interviews were being, of course, conducted. Of course, the analysis has been done using tables and showing whereby the percentage, showing at which level water is important, of course, in rural areas. The interviews have been used by while analyzing, and of course, the narrative testimonies from people who have water tanks. Of course, to select the sample, we have used purposive sampling, whereby we have chosen people who have information about the study. Let me jump to findings. I want to show that our respondents, the majority are women, female. This means that this research is very important because the respondents are people who normally suffer because of lack of water. As you know, women are the one who normally go to fetch water, and of course to cater for, of course, every domestic activity. Therefore, the result that we have reflect the reality on the field. The first objective concerning the problem associated with lack of water, and it's a problem in rural areas. Of course, in rural areas, there is no drinkable water. Of course, as you see at high percentage before, I am telling you about before. There is also a lack of water to feed cattle, as of course in rural area, normally they survive from farming. Therefore, if you have a cattle and don't have water, it's not easy for you. Of course, also there was dirtiness on body, on clothes, and also houses. And also there was a high frequency of low hygiene diseases. That, as you see, this the first objective has been achieved considering the numbers, percentages of people, considering, of course, the problem that we meet in rural areas because of shortage of water. After constructing water tanks, there are different activities that are served or done using the other water, like drinking, of course, cooking, washing clothes, washing body, cleaning houses, watering cattle, selling, of course, selling for money, even gardening. I bring the concept of gardening because if you in Rwanda, we have what we call kitchen garden, whereby we use them to prevent and of course undernourished people disease. I mean, when children suffer from malnutrition, it can be prevented using the kitchen gardens. As you see, based on the other high percentages, the second objective has been achieved, showing that, of course, the other water is useful in rural areas. Of course, not only activities done, but there are some indicators showing that, of course, some things have been changed, and you can notice them through your, of course, while you're observing, or you can know them through testimonies or showcasing. That's why this table show how the hygiene is there on body, on clothes, and of course the availability of water, and of course the cleanliness of houses, and of course other needed, of course, thing to be cleaned. Of course, there is also reduction of low hygiene, whereby, of course, these related diseases, because of course they eat cleaned food, and also they use stuff which are cleaned. As you see, the third objective also has been confirmed, considering the high percentage of indicators that you can find on the ground. Of course, unfortunately, there are some challenges related to the other new practice of keeping rainwater and using that water. Of course, the water tanks are somehow small. The water that they store cannot be used, of course, up to dry season. Also, they are not easy for them to maintain it, or in cleaning it, or to repair them. And also they have, of course, they don't have knowledge about chemicals that can be used when you want to clean them. And those chemicals are not affordable and available in the rural areas. Therefore, I recommended that because the water tank culture is very important for the health of people, better to have self-help groups of people in rural areas so that they can support each other to have the other, of course, water tank. Yeah, of course, also you have to think about the bigger water tanks so that they can have them for, of course, even during the dry season. People should be sensitized so that they can know the importance of rainwater and being able, of course, know how they can use it. And also, the water tank price should be reduced so that it can be affordable to people from rural areas. Chemicals should be available, but also people should be taught how to use them while trying to clean water. And also the banks can help in trying to reduce the interest rates so that the people can buy the other water tank. And finally, better to find out other ways, as techniques to harvest the water, like using water dams and others, so that the water that comes from rain cannot be misused while we need water on this world. Of course, as concluding, I want to, of course, to look at on the theme towards and sustainable development, social work position in achieving SDGs. My research, of course, is linked with the sixth goal of SDGs, whereby we have to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. And of course, it goes with 6.4 point, whereby they say by 2030, substantially increase water use, efficiency across all sectors, and ensure sustainable withdrawals and supply of water, of fresh water, to address water scarcity and reduce the number of people suffering from water scarcity. I thank you very much. If you have question, please, you are welcome.
Thank you so much for that really great presentation. We've got about 4 minutes for questions. So if anyone has a question, please put your hand up, or we can take questions from the Zoom. So does anyone have a question? Yeah, got a question in the Kigali audience.
Hi, really great presentation. I was going to ask, how do you think social workers can contribute to what you found out in your study?
Thank you very much for your question. Of course, social workers can contribute in trying to have water for all by, as I mentioned in the recommendation, mobilizing people to know that we have water that is not used, and to know that we can use our resource, of course, our means by collecting rainwater or harvesting rainwater, and try to have, of course, everything that we need, but of course, using water.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alexandre. My name is David, and I appreciate his presentation, and really, he's a good mentor of mine. He's my mentor, so I appreciate his mentorship. So he really made a research about a subject that I really compare my life to. There are two things that I learned from water as a social worker, and it's there are two quotes. That however, water is soft and humble, but it cuts through hard rocks. And another one is that it cuts through hard rocks because of its patience and persistence. So that gives me a lesson as a social worker to behave like water. However, the situation we are going through is very hard, but we have to behave like water, a subject he made a research about. And another quote is that, however, we are going through hardships in life, but really we should cope up with the behavior of water, that however, life throws an obstacle onto your way of life, we need to cope up with the behavior of water. You either create a channel into those hardships, or you create another way to get to your dreams and goals. Thank you very much. I appreciate my mentor, Mr. Alexander. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Okay, of course, I can end by thanking Mr. David, whereby he quoted something that I want to share once again, whereby social workers have to be like water. Of course, normally we face problems. That's, of course, our job. And as you find problems, you have to find out how to, of course, solve them. As the water, normally every time, find the ways, channels, and so on. All of us, we have to find out ways to solve problems. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you so much for those great questions. If anyone else has a question, please do ask Mr. Alexandra during either the tea break or the lunch break. So the next presentation is going to be from our keynote speaker from yesterday, Dr. Jacob Mugumbate, and it will be on the concept of knowledge and social work, the missing pieces in African social work. And this will be on Zoom. So we're just waiting for the presentation. Just waiting for the presentation to come onto the Zoom. Just whilst we wait for the presentation to come onto the Zoom, just to share a reflection of mine from the presentation about kind of building water tanks in communities. I think something that really spoke to me was the fact that kind of water scarcity and the issues around the availability of water is really a global issue. And it's something that I think we as social workers wanting to be more positioned with the sustainable developmental goals is that we really need to be focused on what do communities need and responding to some of the global issues such as the lack of water. So it was a very great presentation.
I think while we are waiting for Zoom to be ready, we have 3 presentations on Zoom. So we have to wait a moment, but Alexander can keep on sharing with us some reactions, some contributions of the population where you conducted your study. So how do they feel? How do they really contribute? What is their experience in regard to your research?
Thank you very much. As I mentioned, the research was targeting to know if people are satisfied with the availability of water tanks. And of course, the water that they harvest from, of course, rain. People, of course, are happy because as you see, it's among SDGs. And the government of Rwanda is, of course, tries to put in place some different strategies to, of course, to help people to have water. Water from, of course, by using different channels, including that one of harvesting rainwater. As people now, they can enjoy, they can satisfy the basic need of like drinking water, like having, of course, cooking, using clean water. I found that people are very happy, of course, but wishing to have better or enough water than what they have. I mentioned also about the gender. The topic, even if it is not said while my presentation, this topic is gender sensitive, whereby, as I told you, women are the one who cater for the main home activities, domestic activities. They're the one to go to fetch water, to use the water while cleaning, while of course doing everything at home. Therefore, as long as water is at home, they are somehow, of course, helped. They are somehow, the duties are reduced somehow, and they can intervene in other activities. They can sometimes attend different meetings. They can even participate in different community works. Even they can have time to help in leadership. Therefore, the availability of water in rural areas is something which is crucial for, of course, gender promotion in Rwanda, in the rest way, of course.
Thank you so much for making those links. Yeah, really, really important to consider. Does anyone else have any questions whilst we are waiting for the next presentations? If anyone has a question, please put your hand up. We've got one question in the back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I'd like to ask about the affordability of the way of having harvesting water, as we know that sometimes tanks themselves are somehow expensive to be affordable for everyone in daily life for water using at home. So I'm thinking about having sufficient water for those who need water for their cattle, for those who need water for cultivating. Which mechanism do you think could be necessary and available and affordable for people in rural areas to get these tanks or other ways of having harvesting water so that they can be used for their daily life? Thank you.
Thank you very much for a question. Of course, to answer you, I want to quote, of course, what has been said yesterday, or before yesterday, by Joachim. He said that if you want to go far, you have to go with the others. Of course, and in my recommendation, I mentioned what we call self-help groups. As long as people work together, contribute, have the other supporting groups. Of course, it will not be possible to have the water tank for everybody 1 year, but they can do it step by step. If they have a group and they contribute daily or weekly or monthly, at the end they can have a money to, of course, to buy or to buy one tank for one member. Another suggestion I mentioned is to think about the other ways of having or harvesting water. In some rural areas, people use plastic sheets, which are not costly, but they can collect water and it can be used in different activities. Therefore, basing on what I recommended, something may come out to help people to have water tank, of course, which are affordable, but also they can work together so that they can buy the expensive one, but which can help them to sustain, of course, to have water in their homes.
Thank you so much for that response. I'm not sure if the Zoom is ready yet. Don't think it is. So does anyone else have a question? Yeah, we've got one question at the front.
Maybe mine is not also a question, but a sign of appreciation to my mentor.
Mhm.
Really, I've really enjoyed this. You see, sometimes we students, we really cope up with the behavior of our mentors. But every subject should be something of an essential learning. So there is also a quote I got upon water as a social worker that it reads that a drop of water, if it could write out its own history, this would explain the universe to us. If a drop of water could write its own history, it could explain the universe to us. Really, as social workers, I take this chance to congratulate my mentor for having made a research about this. I really also tried to make research about water in comparison to our task as social workers. That's what I came out with. Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander, for having made a research about that. I
Thank you so
appreciate
much. Thank you. Could you please pass the mic to the front? Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. My name is Venancy Uringimana. I wanted to ask you, some people of rural areas don't know how to clean those water tanks. There is a risk to use the bad water. And I wanted to know what the strategies to help this population to clean these waters. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Your question, of course, is very important, as also listed in my recommendation. The chemicals that help to clean water, of course, if not well used, they can be harmful to our health. And not clean, if water is not cleaned, also is harmful for our health. That's why I recommended that it's better to have people who can, of course, as I told you, it's the role of social workers to help people to know that if not using water properly, you can, of course, suffer from it. Of course, you can be in danger. And also, while mobilizing or educating them, it's better to teach them how to, the measurement of chemicals to be put in the other water tanks, so that it may become cleaned. I think through using people in rural area who are expert, who are trained, they can help people to have cleaned water through, of course, mobilization through teaching. Thank you.
That's a great response. Thank you so much. Don't think the Zoom is ready. Not yet. Yeah, so we've got the amazing Mayaka in the background working on getting the Zoom ready. So just until then, would anyone like to just take a moment to just share their reflections on the conference so far? You know, have you guys been enjoying it? Do you have a favorite presentation that you've really enjoyed, or a learning moment that you'd like to share with everyone else at the conference? So if you do, then just please put your hand up, and then we can get a mic over to you. Got someone at the front, please.
Good morning. I'm Branley Madati from Tanzania. I was looking for this opportunity to just share what has been outstanding, what stood out for me in this conference from Tuesday to date. And I really want to say this. So I did my first degree in counseling and education, and now I'm doing a master's degree in social work. And I was sharing with Omari and other people yesterday that I wanted to come for this conference to interact with other people and get to really understand the whole concept of social work, because it's a new thing as for me. Yes, it has a relation with counseling, but it's kind of a new field. So I am very, very grateful for the organizers of this conference that I feel it has given me answers to my questions about either was I sure and was I right to really make a choice to pursue a master's degree in social work. And I just have this one comment to say, especially for those who are still social worker students. One experience I've had is that we need something more than what we are learning in class, more than what we are taught by our lectures. Like these interactions are the practical interactions that really add the value to our profession. Like with the first degree that I did in counseling, I'll be honest with you, it has just given me the legal identity, but the things that I practically use to help my clients are the things that I learned from conferences like this, from mentors, from other people. So I'm really, really happy to be here. And please, I would really want to keep coming if there'll be another conference. This is real awesome. I'm glad that I made the rightful choice to pursue a master's degree in social work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. As a social work student, I agree with a lot of what you said. It's really great to see what's been happening in practice and in research. And yeah, the conference has been amazing so far. So thank you for that. Does anyone want to maybe respond? We've got another student who'd like to respond.
Thank you very much. Since the conference began, there are things that I really appreciate, but I didn't get time to talk about it. Really, there are subjects that I learned from this conference, and I really want to say that now I'm vast in mind because of this conference, because I became more mind opened to accommodate ideas, innovative, and everything like. Really, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday we had Dr. Jacob, who talked about Ubuntu, and he really asked a question like, how do we wish to see the future of social work in Africa and the entire world? And I was like, if we really need to advance social work and make it a better home for ideas and everyone, really we need to do something of a globalized culture. Like we are living in a world of globalized economy, because now we are doing transactions from China, USA, England, and whatever. Likewise, if we want to make it perfect as social workers, to totally eliminate all these obstacles, we need to globalize culture. Because if we really make a consideration of our own philosophy, Ubuntu, and we make it Afrocentric so that other regions could cope up from Africa, it would be good. But sometimes you find other societies take their culture to be something of a secret. So I really deliberately say that all these ambassadors from different countries should go and enlighten their population that they should share us, their cultures, the secrets of their cultures, because each and every society handles a problem in their own context of culture. So That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your reflections. It's always great to hear the voices of new social workers and students. I'd like to invite Eri from UNICEF. She's joining us from Zoom. If you'd like to share your camera and your microphone, just share your thoughts. So Eri, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but if you'd like to share your camera and your microphone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so is it already our time for the presentations?
So I didn't hear that.
Is it our time for the presentations?
Not for the presentations, but just hello to everyone and just share some of your thoughts.
Okay, sorry. So I'm a bit on and off right now. So would you please, can I come back to you later?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thank you so much.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll come in so when I have a moment.
No worries, thank you. So we're now going to be moving on to the next presentation from Dr. Emmanuel. And his presentation is titled Protection of Children with Intellectual Disability and Sustainable Development of Their Families Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Emmanuel Hakizimana, lecturer and a researcher. I had experience with IFSWAfrica Gatagara Gikondo Special School. It is an institution that is looking after children with intellectual disability. And I've been much attracted by what they do. That is why I wanted during this conference to share with you and attract mainly my students to visit that center and mainly volunteer and mainly or just for internship. Because as far as social work practice is concerned, students should be well trained theoretically and practically. HVP means in French, Home de la Vierge des Pauvres. It is an institution that is working with people with intellectual disability, with disability in general. It was founded by a father, Joseph Repon, and he has been given a Rwandan name, Ndagijimana, in 1962 in the current Nyanza district. Nyanza district is located in southern province of Rwanda. Gatagara took the name from the hill, a famous hill in that area is called Gatagara. That is why they took the name of Gatagara. They look after children, adults with different types of impairment, visual, hearing, physical, intellectual disability. They have different branches, one in Nyanza, which is the main one. Another one in Huye, another one in Ruamagana, and another one in Gikondo. And I can't share with you about all those branches. I'm going just to concentrate on Gikondo. Gikondo Special School is a branch of HVP Gatagara, which is looking after children from 4. They don't receive children below 4 years old. They currently have 85 children with different types of disability. They have children with autism. And if you remember yesterday, the director of that institution was here talking about autism. They have children with autism. They have children with Down syndrome. Down syndrome is another type of intellectual disability. They have children with trisomie 21. It is another intellectual disability. Nowadays, they have got a chance to get a fund from European Union and the Christian Blind Mission. That fund will run for 3 years. It started in 2020 and it will last for 3 years. With that fund, they have improved their activities. That is why nowadays they have registered 85 children because they have got a support. With the support of CBM and with European Union and CBM, they have created some units which were not there before. Social units and psychology units. These are new departments which will interest our students. Within those units, individual counseling are provided to students and to parents. Parents, why? Because accepting the disability of your child is not an easy issue. It is somehow difficult to see that during 9 months, you are waiting for a child, and at the end of the day, you get a child with a problem. A child with whom you will not smile, with whom you will not entertain, with whom you will not share, converse. It's not easy to accept. That is why individual counseling are very important for the life of the mothers, of the fathers, of the siblings, and even the neighborhoods. Not only individual counseling, but also group counseling. Group counseling are most of the time organized, and they told me they organize group counseling for parents and the guardians 3 times a month. They call parents in groups of 10. They help those parents to share their experience, how one has received and accepted the disability of his children, of his child. Sharing experience among those mothers and fathers help them to alleviate, to reduce their stress, the stress caused by that issue, because it is somehow traumatic. Family counseling are also organized. Group counseling is about, they have divided parents into group of 10. They have many groups, but family counseling concerns just people from the same the same family or the same household. Parents, children, or other relatives who are living with the child in the same house. They come to the center on a precise day, then they share with psychologists and the social workers who are there at the center. Not only just coming to the center, the staff also join the family, visit the family at their home, and they see how things are organized, how the child with intellectual disability is integrated in their life at home. Apart from psychological or psychosocial support, they also help those groups of parents who have children with intellectual disability. They have formed what we call Village Savings and Loan Association, VSLA, into their homes. Every group is organized. They have a group in every sector. And depending on the amount they have from CBM and the European Union, they have only, I think from 2020, they targeted only the district of Chichuchiro. They are thinking of expanding next year if they get more funds. But nowadays they are concentrated in the Chichuchiro district. So they have 10 groups who are organized. What they do, they just contribute an amount of money, save, and provide some small loans to the families to create some small businesses. The witnesses from those parents and from the staff are that families, parents, mothers, and fathers, most of them have been able to accept, to welcome psychologically their child into and integrate him into their everyday life. And as I told you, it is not easy to get a child whom we were not waiting for. At the center, during the pandemic, let me take just the period of COVID-19 pandemic. Other schools have closed, and you know, all of you, schools have closed. But IFSWAfrica Special School has not closed. They kept on protecting those children from any harm, from violence, from suffering. You know, I heard on radio and television that in some countries, they made the research and they found that during pandemic, homes, families experiences many issues of violence. So keeping Gikondo Special School open during that pandemic protected children with intellectual disabilities from those kind of violence. And again, it made other people, knowing that the school is still open, I can say that it was a kind of raising awareness about the existence of that school. And during the pandemic, I can assure you, according to what they told me, the number of children registered increased because the news was spreading around the town. Families progressively, as I told you, accepted the disability of their child because they receive more discussions, more training, more meetings with the staff. So
shortly, the trauma caused by the occurrence of the disability has been lessened. Because of those groups, VSLA, their life has improved. They have learned to work together to save. They learned some economic activities or project planning skills from the social staff of IFSWP Gatagara. And this improved their life economically, socially, and psychologically. Their witnesses proved that it was not easy to live with their neighborhoods when you have a child with a problem. Some neighbors think that the family, the mother or the father, is somehow possessed. They are demons in the families. It's not easy for neighbors to visit that family when they know that there is a child with a problem. It's not easy for neighbors to receive, to welcome that child when he's strolling around with other children. It's not easy for neighbors also to let their child entertain, play, socialize with another child with intellectual or another disability. But nowadays, parents, families are witnessing an improvement of social relationship with their neighbors. Because themselves they have accepted and they know nowadays how to talk to their neighbors when they visit them. Some of them reveal that nowadays when they go to church, they go with their children. I remember one mother told me, my child has a problem, but he's the key foundation of the family improvement. Because having accepted the disability of the child, she feels no shame to go to visit friends with his child with intellectual disability. He goes to church with him, and he's a boy, and everywhere he goes, he's accompanied with his child. What happened is that during church celebration, one pastor decided to help the family, finds sponsors, finds what, and the life has changed due to that child. Because he could afford to go to visit a friend, to show, to exhibit his child with no shame. Yes, of course, challenges are still apparent in their families, because some fathers, especially fathers, are still source of problems in the family. Some fathers are delaying to accept the disability of their children. Not all, yes, but some of them. Staff told me that sometimes they invite parents, but when they invite parents, most of the time, it is the mother who show up. Parents have always apologies. And this is a sign. This is a sign of inacceptance of that disability. Thank you very much. If you have questions or you can share, you can comment, you can compliment me, you're welcome. Chaz.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for a very great presentation of data acceptance, where people living with disability are also human beings that have human dignity. It's not their fault, but it's by bad luck. And we can see a lot of improvement that families and the communities are accepting them. You didn't talk about much about education, which is also very important for them. And as you may know, even at University of Rwanda, we train students who are visual impaired and those who cannot hear or talk. But my question was always, we train these students, but is the society or society is ready to welcome them, to employ them? I was looking at one case of a lady we had. She cannot hear and she cannot talk. But when you teach her, of course, you have to use a lot of gestures, which many of us, we even don't know. And we have to write on blackboard or using projector. That's fine. And she's actually in her last year, third year. Then my question was, who will employ this young lady in Rwanda? Because when you employ her, that means you have also to hire an interpreter to interpret what she will be doing, because she cannot hear you. And many of us we have those lower skills to talk to them. Then there is another school, actually a secondary school in Huye. The children are studying in the normal programs, like in a secondary school, Hague, and I think the sciences. Then my question to one of the teacher, I asked him, now, did you think of the market, employment market, after these children have finished their schools? Then it made me think, can't we teach them what will help them to do their jobs without all those complications, like a technical knowledge? I think that one, if you are repairing a shoe, you take it, they check it, or carpentry, or sewing, and other opportunities that, other trainings that might help them find jobs. Maybe I'm biased because of a little knowledge I have, the ignorance I have on how to better help them. But that was my concern. Maybe it was to share, but I don't know whether you also had observed that during your research. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaz. What you are saying is just global. As I told you, IFSWAfrica has many branches and many specialization. I concentrated my presentation on special school Gikondo, and mainly in the units that are interesting social workers. Okay. Otherwise, in IFSWAfrica, they have everything you are talking about. They have is it craft, hands-on activities. They train them how to do things, sculpture and something else related to their level of severity of disability. In Butare, they have inclusive education, where they study together with normal children. In Butare also, Kabutare, them laboratory machines. But here in Gikondo, they specialize only on intellectual disability, people with autism, with who are mentally challenged somehow. So what interests social work is the unity of social and psychological and psychology, where they help children, parents mainly, to engage those children with mental challenges in their everyday life, so that they can help them with the little, those people when they come. You talked about education. Yes, it is a special school. They have trained teachers, special teachers, well trained. When the children enter or come to register, they make an assessment and check their level of disability. If you have a mental age less than 6, they accept you, they register you. But normally, if you are more than 7 age, mental age, you go to normal schools, okay? But all those children to be called with intellectual disability, they all have less than 6 years mental age, okay? Not just the chronological age. You know mental age, I think, okay? You know it, I know. Okay, I was just informing our student. Thank you.
On the other side, I'd raise.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think my question is, you talked about the church and you gave a very good example of a church that accepted a young person with disability. I found that most African churches actually cause a lot of trauma to a lot of our children. And I was speaking to one of the girls who works at Hope and Homes for Children, that some of the Pentecostal churches, they want to pray over our children. And yet us professionals are saying that these children, you have to accept them. So how do you deal with the tension between the spiritual healers who want to heal our children, and also us professionals saying these are, the children are the way they are medically, and we have to love them and just support them as they are? How does Rwanda work with the churches who want to heal these children? Thank you.
Good question. It's a problem, always a problem with churches. Whatever problem you have, they pray. Everything you say, if you have a problem, you are about to divorce with your partner, they pray. If you have malaria, they pray. Yeah, it's a problem, yes. All those mothers have quoted having visited churches for that, for prayers. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. Then they go to hospitals. They go to hospitals. In Rwanda, we have many hospitals. Now, the issue of mental health is developing, if I can say so. We have different, at Gatagara themselves, they have a hospital where they count issues of physiotherapy, issues of occupational therapy. At Ndera, we have neuropsychiatry, which is concerned with mental issues also. In Kigali here, we have also different organizations which are carrying out different psychotherapy sessions. But it's not easy. It's not easy for a parent who is a Christian or who is not to avoid visiting churches when they have a problem like that. It is in our inner attitudes. Always when you have a problem, we pray God. We think there is a problem. We think God can do something. All those mothers with this, they haven't visited the churches, but at the end of the day, they found that is a problem that they can be solved by spiritual support. Then they go to visit different hospitals. I can't say that I can tell those mothers not to go there, because whenever you tell them not to go there, they go there, because they think that God can do something. Pastors are a great psychologists. They can convince you for any circumstance, but because of campaign, there are many campaigns. I know there is a research which have been done by Hope and Homes, and yesterday they talked about it, Marius and EPA. Intellectual disability is disability itself. It's a problem which is nowadays known, not by everybody, but the government knows and has set up some organizations, some programs to care for those children. But preventing them to go to churches, it's not easy, truly saying. But what they do at the special school, I told you they teach parents psycho-education. They teach them, they inform them about the disability of their children. If you ask a mother, she tells you, my child has autism. My child has Down syndrome. My child, Down syndrome is that the child has, but he can't speak, he can't do, they know because psycho-education. At special school, they inform, they train with parents. And beyond that, they help them accept that disability.
There is another question.
Thank you very much. Mine is not a question, but a supplement to what Charles asked concerning integration of children with disabilities. To know how to integrate children with disabilities, especially in education, we cannot think about integrating them totally, 100%. We have to think when we are educating children with disabilities on the aim of education, aims of education, whereby we have to think about the personal development. They cannot learn other things, but they can learn, of course, how the spiritually, intellectually, and so on, of course, at their level. They can also think about the vocational preparation. While they are studying with others, it's where, of course, a teacher can discover at which field that a child may be oriented, as Dr. Emmanuel said. For example, it's about handicraft and so on. You can orient them based on the skills that you discover in them. And also, at school, the children, they also learn, they acquire social training, meaning that they can know how to survive, how to live with others. They can know how to joke, how to, of course, to enjoy life. Therefore, not think the education of children with disabilities in the perspective of other, of course, at the same level, but think about different aspects whereby they can be helped in one way or another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexander, for your contribution. I want to call Belize. Belize, come forward. Belize is a social worker. He has graduated from Mount Kenya. He's one of our former students. She's volunteering at HVP Gatagara and involved in social support of those children. Can you share?
Yes, thank you. As he said, I'm a volunteer. One thing I can say, a social worker is someone who can do more. Is someone who can change mindset of other people. Children with disabilities, they are like other children. If you saw, as a social worker, you are trained how to communicate with them. So those children, when they see you, because you understand them, they can differentiate you with others because they know, they feel that you understand them, and they can play, they can dance, they can understand the way you talk to them, even if they cannot speak, but they can see you are communicating with them, you understand them, and then they can respond to you. At Katagara, I'm really learning myself. I'm putting my knowledge in practice. Because in class, you learn theories. You know, it's when you go to the field that you see what? And excuse me. We learned that you have to your sentiments. You cannot show them. If you are feeling you're feeling sorry for them, you cannot show them that you are feeling sorry. But you know, in class you learn that. But when you are with the clients, when you see those children, you know how to deal with that sentiment. But you learn in class, but on the field, that's how you realize, okay, this is what you learn in class, but sometimes it's not easy. But because you with the time you can manage. So practice is something that helps students and practice what you learn. So thank you.
Thank you, Beris. As she shared, social workers have their place in the special schools, because not only Gikondo school, Gikondo special school, they teach, they help to, it's not just teaching, it's caring. They care for those children. They show that their mothers have children. Their children are human beings. They can go to school like others. When they put on uniform, parents are happy. Even they can see their smiles when they are bringing their children to school. It may attract your attention to that issue. When they see their children in uniform like others, like other children, they feel happy. It is a start of accepting their children. And when at school, those trained teachers help them depending on the disability, the level of disability of their children. Because some children cannot even talk, but all of them, they can hear, some at the lower level, but they can. They learn how to dress, to make very basic hygiene themselves. Social workers are not involved in the special education, but in the care of those children and their parents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the engaging presentations on children with disabilities. We're now going to continue some of these discussions with a presentation from Hope and Homes for the Children, with a presentation titled SMS Technology for Disability Inclusive Community Services. And then just a reminder that we have 10 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for a discussion. Thank you.
It looks a bit strange. I will try to, first of all, to do my presentation with respect to time. And part of my presentation was already discussed by Dr. Emmanuel. It's about disabilities, so I'm not going to discuss much about it, but I'm bringing another layer, another level of social work. social work is much expressed when we talk about individual or case management, when we talk about meso and macro. I think mine will be much macro. And with social work with a macro perspective, actually, you don't leave even the micro. So it's like integrated. My presentation will be introduced first by a 2-minute video to make sure if I don't respect time and you take the microphone, you'll have something from my presentation. And the focus is to shift the disability approach from charity to right-based. If we keep with the understanding of charity, yeah, we need to be compassionate, we need to do something. We are going to operate and intervene to few people we are able to reach. How to make sure we don't leave anyone behind. That's how the technology comes in. And I appreciate someone who intervened. They don't know the name, but I appreciated bringing that element of globalization. And here, how social work can apply technology to improve advocacy and intervention. So I will try to respect time.
Technology ni uburyo dukoresha butuma tumenya ibibazo biturutse kuri ground hasi ku mudugudu aho inshuti z'umuryango na kimwe n'abakuriye abafite ubumuga mu tugari no ku murenge akandika SMS yamara kuza umurenge bakayibona akagari bakayibona ikaza hano ku karere tukayibona noneho tugakusanya ibya bibazo rero twamara gukusanya ibya bibazo tukareba ngo muri ibibazo bino byakemurwa nande ibyihutirwa nibi tukabiha gahunda rero yo kuzagenda tubikemura. Hari uburyo iryo koranabuhanga rikoze ku buryo twebwe abayobozi bashobora kukiganirira bamara kubona igisubizo bagakora reaction ari nayo igaruka kuri wa wundi waduhaye icyo kibazo agahita amenya ati abantu ku rwego rw'akarere cyangwa ku rwego rw'igihugu barambwiye bati ikibazo yari afite cy'imbago, ikibazo yari afite cyo kujya kwivuza kizakemuka mu buryo ubu agahita abibona muri telefone ye.
Hope and Homes for Children has been working in Rwanda since 2002. In 2017, it started working with children with disabilities, strengthening their families to ensure their well-being is promoted. We realized that most of them were hidden in houses or were simply living in precarity, very difficult conditions. And we introduced SMS technology. We tested it in 3 districts, and it improved really accessibility to public services, including access to medical treatment, to assistive devices. So it appeared to be very effective. There is a growing demand in other districts to make sure they have such technology that will allow them to not leave anyone behind in their mandate to provide support to children with disabilities. Thank you. Can we go on the PowerPoint? Okay, I'm right here, so let me start. Yeah, so we came to think about SMS technology because we realized whatever service you do, whatever will you have, whatever political commitment you have, unless you work with communities who can identify and report people with disability in communities, you'll never leave no one behind, which is part of our commitment at continental level, at country level. So we could remain only with the political commitment with scattered services. We enjoy what we do. We have a small group, but nothing could happen at national level. So we wanted to challenge the public services, the NGOs, the churches, civil society in general, I mean, all actors, to make sure people who need their services come to them, rather than saying we are planning A, B, C, D, but people come with their needs, with their concerns, and those who are in charge of addressing them, address them. That is, in summary, why we have it. I will not use this tool. If you could help navigate. Yeah, so people with disability face multiple complex problems that need direct report and quick intervention. That is a reality. They are subject to discrimination, as my previous presenters also had to specify. They are subject to discrimination, leading to isolation, abuse, neglect, inaccessible or not inclusive public and private services. Only closest family and community members are aware and could suspect some protection concerns. Consequently, identification for support or referral to specialized agencies was denied or just ignored. Social protection actors lack accurate information to plan tailored intervention and advocate for disability grant. I will highlight that disability grant. Without a grant to support families to advance, which is a government commitment, whatever we do will be just that, which is a drop in the ocean. SMS-based reporting system connects directly people with disabilities with a number of actors. I will be specific when I come on a specific slide. And it helps a person with disability to communicate quickly with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. So the National Council for Persons with Disabilities is an instituted agency of the government which has the mandate to advocate for persons with disabilities. But what if they don't have a specific case? They will be just acting on domains. How can we promote education? How can we promote A, B, C, D? But an individual person or a family who is facing issues cannot have any response, and that vulnerability will remain. Greater collaboration between stakeholders and effective coordination in responding to persons with disabilities. Because the message goes to many actors at the same time. You know who has responded, but when we see how it works, it will be much clearer. It helped raise awareness to persons with disabilities on their rights and to communities to fight against stigma and discrimination. For those who are already connected with this system, they don't go to beg for support. They go to ask for service that is drawn for them. It's that shift. And build a centralized database of persons with disability needs that accurately inform future intervention and advocacy. Here, it's not a service for hope and homes for children, if you have already captured it. It's a system that helps those who are in charge at government level to coordinate other actors so that whoever with his specialized service will come to address the need that is assessed, including hope and homes for children, of course. How does it work? It's simply the SMS we know. And if I ask what is it in full, I know I can bet that some will fail on it because it is really popular as such SMS technology. Then I read it is a short message service. So, but when you send it, you're not like service, you are just sending your short message. So you just send a message to a 4 digits, 2015. It's free, which means that wherever you are, when you see a child or a person with disability, you just report it. And when you report it, it goes directly to the actors you can see. Immediately they can access. It's like whistleblowing. I've seen an issue and everyone will just turn to see who is doing something or nothing has happened and you can push the person who is in charge. So the national NCPD, the National Council for Persons with Disabilities and Hope and Homes for Children have access to that web-based platform. So it's an SMS that goes to the phone, but at the same time, I can access it from my computer, which means that the NCPD can see a big number of SMS requesting for support or describing even some positive messages, not just negative, okay? District DMO. DMO is the district mainstreaming officer. Those staff exist, but as you could hear, Before the SMS technology, they could sit and wait for someone to come, and no one is going to show up. But with the SMS technology, they were able to see many people coming to them. Actually, their level of effort in their offices increased because they were receiving many to the level they couldn't even control, which is already positive because we can plan to add resources, we as Rwandans or as the government, not Hope and Homes only. At the sector level, you can see that there are NCPD coordinators at different levels. NCPD, as you remember, National Council for Persons with Disabilities, those are committee. So they have coordinators who can immediately know an issue happening in a valley or on a hill, and they will go there to check if something is happening. Not doing something is part of the response because you can check how many were not supported. And friends of the family, those are two people, a male and female in each village who are mandated to look after families. So with this tool, they are given more incentive to report. You know, sometimes people may have the goodwill, but they fail to do their work because simply they are not requested for report. And as you can see, the message is done with considering different impairment. You can see it. So from physical, hearing, visual, even intellectual. I've already described that how it appears. So NCPD at HQ level with HHC, NCPD DMOs at district level, NCPD at district level, the coordination, have access to the computer where they can cluster the different needs from maybe sector or cluster of needs so that they have a coordinated intervention, while the other structures from sector to village level just intervene from the phone. And here was an example of someone who sent a message, and it is easy to see the phone number, it's easy to know the location, it's easy to check with that person if they visited, if they made a certain assessment, and so and so. Those are the messages that were received. Not much to discuss about them because they are figures, they talk about themselves, but the only definition will be that in Kamonyi and Gatsibo, the establishment was at early stage, while Kichukiro came a bit later. And not much to discuss about this component because it is recalling the summary of my previous one. And the impact was touched when I talked about the importance. It's the same of the product that came later. So I will not go further in those impact, but if I'm allowed to have only 30 seconds, just to say that now some districts have increased their budget to support persons with disabilities. Some districts are bringing children with disability for surgeon, which is very expensive. It can be between 1.5 million to 4.5 million. So you realize that now people are coming to them rather than just planning some sectorial activities, beautiful activities, but they are responding to people. And it was awarded. That is my last slide. It was awarded as a best solution to support people in communities and ensuring no one is left behind. It was a competition, and the award was jointly provided by UNDP, the NCPD, RISA, which is the Rwanda Institute of Society for Information Society Agency, and the Ministry of Youth. So they saw it as a solution that will help in all communities in Rwanda, that no child with disability will be left hidden in the house. Thank you for your patience, moderator.
Thank you so much for that presentation. We're going to skip questions for that presentation and move forward to the last presentation before the break. And it's from Felipe Duarte on our social workers at the forefront of developing and implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So it's a pleasure for me attending this session again. So I already gave a presentation in another room. I'm joining colleagues in Rwanda. I'm joining from Canada. It's a pleasure for me joining you this morning. I hope through my presentation, I will just quickly share my slides. If you can give me permission to share my slides, I think it seems it's disabled. I'll be reflecting on the role of social workers, what we can do. This builds on the presentation tomorrow from Priska as well. I think there is a panel at 9 a.m. in the morning that will talk about the SDGs. And I don't have permission to share my slides for some reason. The button is blocked. Can you allow multiple participants to share the slides? Okay, thank you. Yeah, great. So, so quickly, I know that we are running out of time. I promise that I will be quick. Just 1 second. So again, I'm joining colleagues. I'm joining from Canada. I'm an assistant professor at School of Social Work in Windsor, in the province of Ontario, and I'm doing research on the SDGs. So this is a question I'm asking to the conference, to the panel today, and probably we can tomorrow also find some answers with Priska from IFSW Global Office. So basically, this.
If Caroline Pascuna is online, because we don't have a recorded presentation. If she's there, she can just present. Carolina, are you there?
Can you please?
Here. Hi, are you ready to present?
Can you please mute yourself?
My present recorded, but I can share the same video during my presentation. I think it's best because my connection probably is not very good.
I think this you can share with us during a couple of minutes.
Requesting Mayaka to mute.
Maximum because we are running over time and we are.
Okay, thank you. So a quick roadmap about my presentation. I will move on just to, so basically in 2015, the United Nations, for those who are familiar with the colleagues, they were presented here on people with disabilities and children. In 2015, the United Nations adopted the 2030 agenda, as you know. This is why it's a great opportunity for us to attend this conference in Rwanda. Fortunately, I was not able to travel. But again, the SDGs are a blueprint comprising, as you know, so 17 goals and 169 targets to be met over the 15-year period. The SDGs offer not only an holistic vision of society, but also a normative and ethical perspective. So identifying what goals for what a good society should be, a society that should be prosperous, inclusive, environmentally sustainable, and well-governed. So I'm citing here Professor Jeff Sachs from Columbia University in New York. So again, for those who are familiar, if we exclude the SDG number 17, so we have 16 SDGs, and some, including the one like the previous presentations, some address people's well-being. And I think it's important for social workers to make our work visible and inform the United Nations agencies. And that's why the IFSW region, Africa region, and the Global Office, they are putting some effort to incentivize us, all practitioners from different regions, to make the successes more visible, the good practices, and to reflect about the role of social workers in achieving the SDGs. So basically in 2020, the International Federation of Social Workers and the International Association of Schools of Social Work, they jointly updated the global standards for social work education and training. In my previous presentation, minutes ago, I shared the pictures. So actually, Professor Vasilis Wakimidis and Professor Dixon, representing each one, like the both global organizations, they met here in Windsor. They drafted the final version, And the IFSW, they in last year in 2020 in the online conference, they released the final report, and then this introduced the importance of the new global, the importance of sustainable development taking place in the global south and in Africa region. And but as you know, in the literature, so term social development sometimes is not widely explored in social work literature. But again, social work has been actively involved in sustainable and social development over the last few decades. So I'm citing here some well-known authors and scholars, but Professor Migli just said that development as a dynamic connotation refers to the process of change, growth, and progress and evolution. So the term is often linked to economic progress in developing countries. Nowadays, it comprises a better framework, a better understanding, and that's why the World Social Work Day this year, the Ubuntu theme, it was really important because I think everyone around the world now knows about the philosophy and the principle of Ubuntu. But again, social, cultural, and general political, environment, and economic dimensions are really important for social work. So with the pandemic, as you know, so the progress towards that was severely affected, so new layers of vulnerability. And in September 2020, so the Pakistani activist Malala Yousaf, she's also an honorary Canadian citizen, she challenged the world leaders to make progress towards the SDGs. So, but basically, with the pandemic, the current Secretary General Guterres, Antonio Guterres, he also said that we have to address the fragilities and the shortcomings that pandemic just exposed, and then social work profession, and you as well in Rwanda, we are really important. We can probably contribute more, inform more the global reports. When we read the global reports, I'm not open this, but if you open the Sustainable Development Report or the SDG Index, when you look at Rwanda ranks 136 in the world in terms of progress towards the SDGs. So what is social work doing to inform this data? Because sometimes the data does not reflect the good practices, what you are actually doing on the ground. And this is just important. Same thing when you look at the Human Development Index. And again, what the project I'm presenting here today, just to conclude, and I'm now doing a case study on Nepal, but basically I'm looking at the social work role in leading communities to make progress towards the SDGs. So this is a more comprehensive project, but basically the goal is to understand and highlight the relevance of social work practice in advancing the SDGs locally and nationally. This will be accomplished through different processes. I will not share, but basically two main research questions. If you are interested, you can contact me later. How the social work profession in both education and practice contributes to advancing the SDGs locally. So this is true for Rwanda as well. So what and to what extent social work is engaged. So I'm basically, if you are familiar with the SDGs and what you are doing on the ground, if can inform and can be replicated and published and informed like the reports from the United Nations and the different agencies. So at the end, just to conclude, the potential benefits. So the findings of this research and the examples from Nepal, and we already drafted comprehensive interview questions. Basically, the findings will be of direct interest of the International Federation of Social Workers, the global international bodies like the United Nations Development Programme, for example, and other relevant UN agencies, for example, the one in Nepal. This will also enhance our practice in our curriculum in social work. And I think this will be probably, I will have future opportunities to present the results. So thank you. And if you want to contact me, just please send me an email. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Felipe, for that really interesting presentation. We're now going to go to a break. We've got about 20 minutes for the break. Yeah, so we'll be back in about just 20 minutes. Thank you.
So please, we have taken like 10 minutes from the break time. We are remaining with just 20. Please, I ask you to hurry up. If possible, you can even bring your tea. So to respect the time of live streamed sessions, which are going to start in 15 minutes. Okay.